We are going to talk today about the retreat. So, before I do, where's my events? I will be at Kismet Epiphany October 28th, Bel Air, Maryland, November 18th and 19th. And then October 29th, I'm launching my podcast on the B2B network. It's also on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, iHeart, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Podcast Addicts, Podchaser. So, and you'll be able to see the link. I'll put the link in this then as well. I probably should have already had that done, but I didn't even think about it. So, how's everybody doing in this October? It was chilly the other day, but today it's not so bad. Not so bad. I feel like my camera is really high. Hold on. There. Oh, much better. So, I am Evidential Medium Stacy Needenthal. This is Connecting to Spirit with Stacy. If this is the first time you've been on, put a 1 so I can personally welcome you. Feel free to share this with your friends and family who you feel like they need to have an upbeat conversation on Tuesdays at 10:30. So, as you know, Evidential Medium Stacy Needenthal. I have the ability to channel spirit using love and light for my higher good and the higher good of those that God puts in my path. I am a child of God, evidential medium, and spiritual healer. When I channel spirit, I do it for my higher good and the higher good of those that God puts in my path. I truly believe that people who come to see me are either at a crossroads looking for direction or they want to connect with someone on the other side. So today is not an angel card reading. It is not a mediumship reading. This is just a time where we get together on Tuesdays at 10:30 and chat. And we talk about meditation and grief and things on the other side and connecting with them and how to grow your spiritual awareness and how to come back home after the loss of someone. So today we're going to talk about something totally different. Last week at this time, Jeff and I were on our way to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, to meet with our Whisper. What are we calling it? The Whisper Sisters is what we ended up calling our group. And we shared a big house in Pigeon Forge, and we worked on spiritual connections, not just with the other side, but also within each other and with ourselves. We had there was a total of 8 of us in the house. Now the house slept like 42. It was huge. And there were a total of 8 of us. 2 were sick. One pinched a nerve in her back and was not able to drive. And then Denise had just gotten out of the hospital. So she was also unable to attend. So it was a small, intimate group. And we really learned a lot from each other. And in thinking of like next year's retreat and the following years, I did a survey with everyone, and it seems like this small, intimate retreat really helped us to be vulnerable and to talk and to just let our walls down. So I think in the future, next year's retreat, maybe we'll only do 10 to 12 people and keep it small. I had originally hoped for about 15 to 20 for this retreat. We ended up having, like I said, there were 6 of us plus Jeff and I was 8. We had 9 who had actually signed up that were supposed to be there. But it was a nice way to get together and just talk and to share. So I think we're probably going to keep it to a small group. And I'm going to be putting a survey out on what you would look for in a a women's retreat. And I want to have your honest opinions and your honest feedback. So let me know if you would rather, summer or winter, lake, mountains, ocean, just a women's retreat, spiritual retreat, grief retreat, empowerment. So these are going to be things on the survey. And I would really urge you to answer the questions. You can do it anonymously. It will be out hopefully in the next couple days. But I'm going to be putting some stuff up on Facebook for polls as well. Please answer them. I can't make this best benefit you unless I know what you need. So the first day that we got in, hold on, I just want to talk about it. Jeff and I arrived the day before to get everything ready, and we decorated and prepared food. And I don't know. I was probably at 1 o'clock in the morning till I finally went to bed, getting everything together for everyone. And then the guests started arriving on Wednesday, and we had a meet and greet when you first arrived with some food and just to kind of get to know each other. And because it was a small group, it was really easy to just talk to each other. But you know what I noticed at the meet and greet? People weren't sitting together, or they were just kind of like testing each other's energy to see what was going on. Maybe what other people's intentions were for the group. But we were just kind of like those who came together stayed together, and so it was kind of interesting to watch that change over the course of 3 days and 3 nights. And I gave free time till about 5 o'clock because you had just traveled. I didn't know how far you were traveling from. We had a woman from Oklahoma, we had a woman from Ohio, one from Maryland, Pennsylvania. Well, I guess 3 were from Pennsylvania. But I wanted to make sure that you were well rested, that they were well rested, and just kind of got acclimated to their rooms and got the lay of the land and the house. And then we started around 5 o'clock. And we met from 5 to 6 just to welcome each other, to introduce ourselves to each other, and find out kind of what we were all looking for. And for the most part, it was spiritual awakening. It was feeling lost or disconnected with themselves, with ourselves. And we all went around and talked about who we were, why we were there, and just kind of got acquainted. And then from 6 to 7, we had an open discussion. And the open discussion, I started that with a meditation. And the meditation allowed you to reconnect with the wise woman within yourself. So we were reintroducing ourselves to ourselves. Do you ever feel like, or do you ever notice that you kind of get lost? Oh, sorry. That you kind of get lost in who you are. Let me just do something once. There we go. I need to have my phone so I can see comments. But have you ever noticed that you get lost? And we discussed who we were. And we are either, we are moms or sisters or nieces and co-workers and neighbors. And we have all these names of who we are, but we tend to forget that there's a wise woman within ourselves with wisdom of things that we've learned through the past years, that we recognize who we were and who we are now. But sometimes we get stuck in who we were. So in this meditation, it allowed us to reacquaint ourselves with ourselves. And I noticed that when I was leading this meditation, when I talked about meeting the wise woman, when I said, look yourself in the eye and meet that wise woman, every single person there kind of took a deep breath or a step back. Some cried because they had forgotten there was this wise woman within themselves. So it was that reintroduction to ourself. And then we followed it up with a discussion, and we talked about that, and we got into some really intense conversations, which of course I'm not going to talk about. Um, but I wanted to talk about this though. But it was very interesting how there were 6 participants and so many synchronicities. And when I set my intentions for this retreat, I asked my guides to have synchronicity show up so much that we couldn't discount it as a coincidence. And there were so many different synchronicities within these women. And then I ended it with a group reading, and we brought through spirit. Um, some of the women were very open to that. Some were a little skeptical, and you know what? That's cool. I'm not for everybody. Not everybody believes in mediumship, but I wanted to enable them to believe and to know that they're never alone, that their loved one is always with them. So we kind of hung out for a little while, and everybody went to bed because we've been traveling all day. So it was like, you're really tired. We got up the next morning, and we met it was like a media room in the house. Um, and we discussed what a past life regression was. And we talked about why you would want a past life regression. Or we talked about some of the things that you find out, whether it's past traumas, errors that we make over and over, habits, and different things that happen. And we talked about how a past life regression works. It doesn't always work for a lot of people, but it works for a lot of people as well. And I explained that the guided meditation, you were still fully in control, that you were not reliving a past life, you were just seeing it. It enabled you to go back in time to make your own choice as to which door you wanted to go in, and to visualize the things that had happened. And what one of the participants said was, it really helped when you said, if you can't visualize this, imagine, use your imagination. You know what your imagination is. Visualize a door, imagine a door, feel the door, see the door, smell the door. And each person was able to regress and see something. And then we had a discussion about it. And we got to find out that some of the things in our past we carried into our future. And when you are aware of that, then you can make changes if you choose to. Then you can acknowledge it. And sometimes when you understand the reason why, then you're able to make a change with that habit, or you're able to have a better understanding of it. I had shared with them that in one of my past life regressions that I was led through, I could visualize myself on a wagon, and we were on a wagon train. I was steering the horses, and we were being under attack. And I remember hitting the reins on the horses, and the horses took off, but one of them bucked. And when they bucked, the wagon went over this big rock and broke the wheel, or broke a spike in the wheel. And I fell off of the wagon, and the wagon fell on me, fell on my hips. I was unable to move, and this is how I died. So, fun fact, when I was born in this lifetime, I was born with a dislocated hip. So, my belief is that past life on the wagon train, where I died smashed between a wagon and a rock at my hips, I brought that dislocated hip back into this existing life. Now, I was put in a cast as a baby, and it was a full body cast. My parents talked about that. We used to talk about that all the time, how they would, carry me around, and I guess there was this rod between my legs or whatever, that's kind of how they would hold me up. But I felt it interesting that before I even really understood a past life regression, this was one of the places that I was taking, and it clicked, and it made so much sense with me that, oh my gosh, this is why I was born with a dislocated hip. So we talked about the past life regressions. We had an open discussion, and when we had the open discussion, I did not want to say this is why this happened. It was more like I want you to think about how that's affecting your existing life. And just recently, one of the women who went email or text last night that something that she saw in her past life regression all of a sudden clicked, that she had this symbol of a tattoo. This symbol was tattooed on her body now. And not until, I guess, that night, last night, did she realize, sorry, this is bothering me. It's one of my journals. Oh, of course that's going to happen. But it didn't really dawn on her that the symbol that she saw, she currently wears on her body now. Interesting. Things that make you go, And then you want to dive down deep and say, well, what does that symbol mean to you now? And what do you feel it meant to you then? And the cool thing about the regression is I set it up that you would continue to get either flashbacks or memories from that lifetime that will help you to make sense of this lifetime. Interesting. So if you've never had a past life regression, maybe something that you might be interested in. And then we had free time from noon to 2. Some stayed at the house, some ventured out and got food or just went outside. But we had a couple, what do you want to call it, issues at the house. We were supposed to have 2 refrigerators. One did not work. And when the maintenance person or the groundskeeper came to check on where this problem was, he told us to just kind of beware that there was a 400-pound bear that had been wandering around where we were staying. So we were all kind of anxious to see the bear from inside, but also like anxious not to see the bear. So unfortunately, that kind of put a damper on us venturing out into the woods a little bit. But we were able to sit on the porch and have a conversation and talk. So from 2 to 5, when we reconvened, of course, we had a discussion about where you went and what you saw and all this stuff. But we talked about manifesting and vision boards. And I talked about a letter to myself, which I've done a Tuesday Talks in. And we visualized this. And then we actually wrote a letter to ourselves, to a part in our life where we did not receive the comfort that we needed. And we met that child, that adult, whatever it was, at that time and space. And we wrote a letter to that person saying that you're not alone. I am here with you. You're going to make it through it. Whatever they wanted to talk about. We didn't discuss that, because then we put that letter, and everybody said, do I have to read this letter? And I'm like, absolutely not. This is a letter between you and your past self. And we folded that letter up to later use to burn at our full moon release. And then we worked on a vision board. And I read some different words that were feelings and emotions and habits to try and spark the creative part of ourselves. And it was so interesting at how the first night we got together, everyone was very quiet. But when we started working on the vision board and we shared our information about the vision board, all of a sudden something clicked within us. And we were able to listen to each other and talk to each other and have a conversation and understand where each person was coming from. And then we had a little bit of a break, and then we drove to the campsite. And it was so odd because they sent me the address of where the campfire was, and I sent Jeff that way, and he was like, it says it's 19 miles. And I'm texting, and they're like, oh, we sent you to the management office. So he ended up finding it, and it wasn't that far down the road. But we all decided to drive there because we did not want to run into Yogi Bear. We wanted to see this bear, but from inside, but we didn't want to like on our walk meet him. And we got to the fire, we built the fire, and we were led in a meditation, a full moon release by Crystal. God, I always say it wrong. Crystal Reiki by Karen. Karen Pizza, and I learned that it's not pizza, it's pizza. Led us in a full moon release. We talked about what the full moon meant, the hunter's moon, and how it was a release to let go of those things that no longer serve you so that you can walk into a new moon, a new age, a new thought process. And one by one, we walked to the fire and we burnt that letter. And when each person walked out of the fire pit, basically, I put my hand there and helped them out. And I said to one, because the one looked at me and she said, I can do this. And I'm like, no. You walk to the fire alone, but a sister helps you out of the fire. Because I wanted each and every one of those women to know that they were not alone. That, yes, they had to walk to the fire by themselves and release whatever they wrote in this letter, or if they wrote something different. But as a sister, I was going to walk them out of the fire. So after we had that, and then Karen sent Reiki to each one of us, and we all had different experiences with that. And then we went back to the house, had some munchies, and the chatter in the kitchen was so different that night than it was the night before. There was laughing and comparing and talking about different things, but we were clicking together as a sacred circle. And I explained when we first started what the sacred circle meant. That it's when you come together as a unit to talk and to uplift each other. I don't know if I have that. I don't have that writing here. Then we went to bed. We had a very good day in doing the past life regression, in meeting ourselves somewhere, in writing a letter to ourselves. I forgot each girl was given a light stick. And when they felt like they could let the light in, they broke the stick from this letter. So it was breaking the thought process in the letter of that younger version of ourselves being alone. And then we had the fire pit. So the next morning when we got up, we talked about a spiritual toolbox. And we talked about energy and stones and oils. And we got into this very deep discussion, and we kind of got off course. And me being the facilitator thought I should bring it back in, but it needed to be said. These women needed to leave these things out in a safe space. So I allowed them to have this conversation that they needed to and talk about their energy and the things around them. We talked about pendulums and dowsing rods and grief. And it was so amazing how one woman would talk about something and then the other one would be like, oh, I understand that, and explain what they went through. Now, there were some times where I had to say, hold on, let her speak. Or if someone else would talk about something, I would come back to that woman and say, I want to acknowledge you. Was there something else that you wanted to say? Because I want you to feel like you were heard and that you had a safe space to talk in. And we ended up going over a little bit. And I gave them the option of when we get back, we can continue to talk about angel cards and oracle cards, or we can go on and talk about journaling and grief release. And they wanted to continue on for an additional hour so that we could talk about pendulums and stones and oils and things like that. And then we came back at the normal time and we talked about angel and oracle cards instead of journaling. So we journaled the whole time. I had them, they each got a journal. And after each session, I would say, I want you to write something down. And when you go to bed, I want you to write something down. And just journal about your day. So we came back and we talked about angel and oracle cards and how to use them. And I gave an energy reading to the one woman who I had missed in the gallery in the group reading. I thought that I had done a reading from spirit from her, and I did not, and that was all on me. It had nothing to do with her. And I did an energy reading just to show how it works. And then I asked them to pick a deck of cards. I had several decks there. Choose a partner of someone they didn't know and do an angel card reading for them. And they went somewhere else to do the readings. And I just kind of popped in and helped them with that. Now, if angel and oracle cards are not your gig, hey, that's cool. But it's just a different tool that you can use to get a message from an angel. There is do I have it? There's a mantra deck. There's a healing mantra deck, and you could pull, if this is just what you wanted to do, what's my mantra for the day? And I do a Monday mantra every day, or every Monday. But this one says, my heart will love again. So all day, this would be the mantra. And maybe this is the type of deck that you wanted. There's decks that will help you to write journal entries. There's decks that, of things that I need to release and surrender. So whether you use meditation, whether you use cards, whether you go and see a medium, whether you're a medium yourself, you need to have some type of relief and some type of validation. I was going to say something and I just forgot. Okay. Not sure what it was that I was going to say. But journaling to me is always important because it allows, and when you journal, and you can type if you want to journal, or you can journal in your phone. But I feel like when the mind and the hand come together, things come out that is almost like automatic writing, and there's a message to you somehow there. I gave them each these love bomb cards. And the love bombs they're just little cards that if you see someone doing something that you want to acknowledge, you just leave that on their desk or on their car or in their room or whatever. But it's sending love and energy out to other people. When you think about your spiritual toolbox, it's good for you to raise your energy and to know the tools that you have within you. But I feel like we need to share them. And I talked about to them that, if time and money were no object, all I would be doing is traveling and speaking and talking about energy and doing readings and helping to heal the world. And I know I can't heal the world all by myself, but if I can help you to find the healer within yourself, you can help me heal the world. See? Then we talked about, what did we talk? Then we had our group dinner. And Jeff made this amazing dinner, and we all sat down and we talked. And I had this little surprise for everybody, so I kept leaving the table because I was trying to get this together for them before they left. And then we met back together at 8:30, and we had an open discussion. And the discussion was, what do you think? How do you feel? And what things were really good and what things needed fixed, and what did you get from this? And I'll tell you, some of the comments that I got, was I had a major breakthrough during the past life regression. I had a major breakthrough during the past life regression. The retreat was life-changing, and I'm hoping to have a new sisterhood. So because this was the first retreat, we decided I thought we would be called like the Wise Women, because that was the first meditation. Everybody seemed to like it, clicked. But it was only a Whisper Away women's retreat, so they wanted to be the Whisper Sisters. So that's what we are. Share a memory. Meditation and releasing negativity in the fire. Felt immediate relief after the moon release and the drum ceremony. The last evening, sitting in the living room talking, the feeling of love and sisterhood was palpable. I came feeling alone, and I left with 6 new sisters. I have never experienced anything like the fire pit. The entire week was awesome. And it's funny how it was 3 days and 3 nights, but we all felt like it was a week. Some of their comments were, we felt safe. I was able to express my vulnerability. The first meditation made me take a look within myself. You know, they want to keep it small. It was comfortable, a safe space, the sisterhood, safe space, safe space. Every single person said what worked really well for you. Safe space, taking notes and journaling. I enjoyed bonding. So this is something we're going to do next year. I'm not sure when. We did this one in October. We did this one in Pigeon Forge for the full moon release. But we're going to have a survey out. Would you want spring, summer, winter, fall? Would you want to be at the ocean or in the mountains? I'm a mountain girl. I mean, I like the ocean, but, you know, I like the sound of the ocean. I don't want to get in the ocean anymore. I like the lakes. But what do you all like? Will you want a shared house, or would you rather stay in a hotel and then meet with us, you know, and one combined? So we're going to send this out. Do you want a spiritual retreat of opening up to your spiritual awareness? Do you want a grief retreat? Do you want an empowerment retreat? I want to gather as much information from now until, let's say, the end of the year. And then in January, we'll announce where we're going next year. So that was our retreat. If you missed it, come next year. And we're going to limit the amount of spaces in it because I feel like, yes, we need to keep it small and intimate. Maybe later we'll grow into a larger group. Hopefully you can hear me. My microphone was way over there. Maybe eventually we'll grow into a larger group, but I got so many different ideas just through this of other healers that I know that maybe would, you know, come and do something just like Karen did with the Crystal Reiki during the full moon release. You know, I have a network of healers, not just Reiki, but Kundalini and yoga and spirit artists and different things like that. So, you know, maybe I'll see if I can get some other people to come together and decide what weekend we're going to do it and go from there. But I want to thank each and every one of the participants who came and shared along this journey with me. God bless my husband. Imagine Jeff in a house with 7 women. And he even said to me, you know, you mainly left me alone. I just kind of like did whatever I needed to do. So when we would meet, he was preparing snacks or preparing dinner, you know, made sure that there was water in the refrigerator and things like that. So it was very interesting. And I really wanted to try and figure out how we could do a co-ed retreat. And maybe that'll be something further down the road. But so far, everybody's like, yes, a women's retreat. You know, so we'll be planning one for 2025. Not sure where or when. If you have any suggestions, private message me. If you own a cabin that would sleep 14 to 16 people, or a house by the water or whatever that we could rent from you, let me know. So, guys, this rest and relaxation meant so much to me, and I learned so much from each woman that was there. The big takeaway from me, one of the women said when we were talking about different things, and I will never forget it, and I'm probably going to do a Tuesday Talks one at one of these days, but she said what she learned is when you enable, you disable. So as women, we tend, well, not as women, as humans, we tend to enable others to help them out of situations that they need to learn how to get themselves out of. We can walk beside them, but we can't always do it for them. Because when you enable, you disable. I loved that. I loved that. And all of us wrote that down. We're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna remember that forever. So thank you for each and every person who came along to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, 3 days and 3 nights of release and connection and of a new sisterhood. I look forward to the one that we do next year that we will announce. I have no idea what we're going to do yet. We just got back, but I'm already starting to think about it and plan for it. And I pray that each and every one of you are living the life you love and loving the life you live. If not, you're the only one that can change it. So we have upcoming events coming up. Kismet Epiphany, October 28th. Bel Air, Maryland, November 18th and 19th. I do have dates here at Hip Gypsy Emporium. I'm sorry I don't have them in front of me. October 29th, I have a new podcast that's coming out on the B2B network. You'll be able to find it on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Connecting to Spirit with Stacy, of course, is what it is. But it's just a message of healing and connection and coming back home and connecting with your loved one on the other side. All right, guys, I hope you have a great and wonderful Tuesday. I will talk to you next Tuesday at 10:30. I love each and every one of you, and I love this connection that we have. I'll see you next week. Peace. I love you, and see you later. All right, bye-bye.